Hey folks, today I'm going to show you how to upgrade your own computer, how to do your own upgrades yourself. This is the way it always happens. You go in a shop to buy a machine or to buy a computer or a laptop or whatever, and the salesperson starts talking about gigahertz, megahertz, blah 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 hertz, and all this other stuff. In most cases, you don't understand what they are saying. Most people don't understand what they are saying. Another scenario is this: you already own a computer, it starts giving you problems, you take it to the shop for them to fix it, and they tell you, oh, you need this, you need that. But in most cases, you don't know what they are looking, you don't know what they are talking about. So at the end of the day, they give you a very huge bill, they tell you they've changed this, they've changed that, and for most people, megahertz, gigahertz. At the end of the day, you end up buying more computer than you need if you're buying a new one, or in so many instances, you end up paying for things that you really don't understand. So in this short lesson today, let's go ahead and see what it is that they are talking about. We are going to talk megahertz, gigahertz. I'll open this computer here, this laptop here, and show you what's inside it so that you know what they are doing. Now, all laptops are the same as your desktop. They're all the same. The only difference is that what's inside your laptop is a compressed version of what is inside your desktop. So everything you're going to see inside this one is the same thing that is inside your laptop. Inside your desktop, except that they are bigger. Now, every laptop comes with, you see these screws here. If you look right here, you see the screws. You see them? You see they are all the same. They all have it. So the first thing to do is to remove these. You want to remove the screws. You see them? You got to just remove them. Now I want to point out that in some laptops, these screws here are covered with stuff, with a piece of plastic, so they are not very obvious. So the first thing to do is to remove them. Let me go ahead and remove them, and then I will show you how to open this laptop once they are removed. Okay, I'll be back opening it. Okay, so the first obvious step is to remove the screws. As you can see, I've already removed all of them. Now, to do that, I had to use this tiny, you see this tiny screwdriver here. That's what I had to use to remove it. It's a very tiny one. You can buy one. Now, the next thing to do is to remove the back cover of the laptop. Now, there are so many ways you can do that. There are some tools that you can buy to do that. If you are not going to be opening computers every day, there's really no need. So here is one of them. You can buy it. You see, it's a piece of plastic. There are so many of them that you can use. But if you're not going to be opening computers every day, the best thing to do is to find a piece of card that you don't use, a credit card or whatever that you don't use. You see where the edge is here. This is the most tricky part of doing that. So you find where this here is. Notice, you see the groove. See, there's always a groove where they all come together. Use your finger or use this over here, and slightly, once you get it going using this card that you don't use, what I'm going to do here now is use this card. So use your finger, or be careful, use a piece of plastic or something like this. Once you get it going right here, notice once it slides in, you start going this way, and you got to be very careful here because this thing is plastic, so that you don't break it. And as you slide it across, notice that the laptop is opening, and you go around. Be careful so that you don't break anything. You don't break this back here. As for you breaking anything inside, there is nothing you can break. The only thing you will break here is going to be this this cover and be careful not to break it. So as you can see, this cover is out. So we've taken the cover out. So the next thing now to do is to see what's really inside the laptop, and that's the objective of the whole the lesson that we are doing here. So here is your laptop. Here is a typical laptop. They're all the same. It doesn't matter which one it is. The architecture may be different. So what's inside it? This right here is the battery that powers the laptop. This here is the fan that keeps it very cool. You can always tell when your fan starts, when your laptop starts going bad, because when the fan is bad, because you won't hear it run. Inside of this computer gets very hot when it is up. When it is up and running, it's this fan here that cools it down. Okay, so this fan here can be, everything you see here can be replaced. Every other thing you see here is the motherboard. Okay, so now when the person starts telling you you need 16 GB, 32 GB, there are two things that they are talking about. Here is the RAM. You see, this is the memory. This is the RAM here. You see, this is the RAM. So what this thing here does is, it is what allows your computer to multitask. Your computer multitasking means your computer could be doing, you could be using Microsoft Word or some other software, and at the same time listening to music. This is what makes it possible. So you see, you can pop it open, and you can pop this here open, and it will come out. You see, it comes out on its own. So what I normally do is I buy a cheap computer and I upgrade this over here, add more of this. Now, if you are going to be just doing basic things with your computer, 8 is more than enough. 8 is enough for you. I don't even think you can buy a computer that doesn't come with 8 minimum today. At most, you need 16. Now, if you are going to be doing very intensive computing, you are going to need, you may want to go up to 24, but after that, you are wasting money, honestly. After that, you now need a specialized computer, and those cost a lot more money. But for the average, for 90% of folks out there, all you need is about 16 of these over here, at most 24. How many of these that you can support is determined by the motherboard that it is attached to. When you say 24, 16, or 8, these things here come in units of 4, 8, 16, 24, 36. So this one here is 8. For a computer like this here, or for a laptop like this here that has only one slot, this is called one slot, you can only put, I think the maximum this motherboard will support is 16 for this particular computer. So if I put 24 here or whatever, it is useless. The computer won't use it. Okay, you can only use what is recognized. So you can always change this yourself. It's very easy to do. If you go to the shop for them to do it, they will charge you about $100 and something plus the cost of buying this over here. This is about $50 something or $40 something, depending on where you buy it. Now the next thing, and this of course is measured in gigabytes. Now when you are talking of gigabytes, computers store information in bits or in bytes or whatever. Okay, so if you hear 1 gigabyte, you are talking about 1 million pieces of data, or of bytes, of bits. So consider a computer, a gigabyte, as a big bucket where you keep on throwing stuff. A million of that stuff you're putting inside maybe this bottled water here, if you can contain 1 billion, that's 1 gigabyte. Okay, so when they say you need 16 GB, they're saying you need 16 billion gigabytes, 16 billion bytes of bits of whatever you want to. But it's pieces of information that make up 1 billion, makes up 1 gigabyte. Okay. Now, the next thing that you want to be aware that they will be talking about is this here. See this here? This is the hard drive for this computer. You see it? You see how small it is? It is on board. It is an SSD, SSD drive. used to be SSD stands for solid state drive. This one here is 128. Long ago, hard drives used to come as big as this here. And you believe it or not, this small one here is much bigger than this one here. Okay, see how they have made it very, very small now. So you don't want to buy any computer that has less than 128 because you can barely store anything in it. So this one here I think is about 256 or somewhere in that range. But notice how small it is compared to this one here that is I think this is 120. These are how they used to come long ago. Okay, so nobody uses that anymore. So what I do is if I see a cheap computer that is good, I buy it. And then I buy this here. This is the same thing that you have here is this over here. I buy it. This is double, triple this size here. I buy it. And then I buy a casing. You buy a casing just like this and put it inside this casing. With this casing here, I now have 3 times the storage space I have inside this computer. I take it here. The good thing about a solid state drive is, notice it's just a bunch of chips, a bunch of memory chips. There is nothing spinning. So even if you drop them, nothing happens. They don't go bad. As opposed to this one here, if you drop this one here, there is a fan, there is a spindle that is spinning inside this. If you drop this one over here, something goes wrong and it won't work anymore. But this over here, you can just drop them, or if you want to play around with them, put them inside the casing, and they just work fine. The other thing that they could be talking about is this here. You see, this is a GPU, graphics processing unit. This is what makes your video look good or look bright. In most cases, they are going to be on board. In other words, meaning that they are welded to the board, to the motherboard. If you have a high-end computer, this will come as a separate unit also. Now, going back again, this one again is measured again in gigabytes. Okay, now going back to this here, what this here does, as we pointed out, is the more of this you have, the faster your computer runs. Okay, the more of this here, the hard drive you have, the more stuff that you can store. Okay, when you run out of space, that means you have filled everything that is in here. Okay, your computer is running hot, or it means that this fan is not working. Okay, the other thing is that one other thing that could possibly happen is your computer is shutting down, is not working very well the way you expect it. It means that probably your battery is not good or the battery is dying, but it will always tell you the warning. So every other thing you see here is, the motherboard. Everything else you see here is the motherboard. Okay? That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. So the next time they start talking gigahertz, megahertz, blah, blah, blah hertz, find a way to, so you understand what they are talking. And you can easily buy a cheaper computer and upgrade this. The more of this, the better. But be aware, don't add more than the hard drive, than the motherboard can support. And these things are speed rated, meaning if you put one that is not properly rated for the motherboard, it will not work. Okay? I hope you've learned something from this here.